In previous real-side experiences I have shared over the years, and others have shared also, is the verification of the dark forces' insidious plot and agenda to robotize the human race. The human race has been an enslaved species since the dark force reptilians first came to the Earth, where they discovered a species of intelligent ape creatures, and through their genetic tinkering did they upgrade these apes that they could operate as an effective workforce, but not genetically upgraded to the extent of being unmanageable in any way. And as the centuries have rolled by, so has there been periodically the necessity of further genetic alterations to humankind to maintain as easily a farmable species as possible. From day one of humanity's emergence as a genetically restructured slave species, has agreement been secured, that of the idea acceptance of the dark force reptilians in all their expressions, having the ability to exercise their dominance over the humans. And with this agreement shared between the two species, humanity and the reptilians, the idea of the slave and controller dynamic, so this is the continued, effected overall situation that is humanity's experience. As nothing can be experienced in creation absent of the idea installed in a consciousness that effects it, regardless of how powerful one being or species has a consciousness developed themselves to be in relation to others. And so the dark force controllers have the agreement permissions to exercise their control over humanity within the relatively broad parameters that such an open-ended agreement provides, that of the acceptance that another race can control and subjugate. And really then, the measures needed to maintain control of the species depends on the extent that the humans express resistance to this control, that as they begin to rattle the bars of their cages, is it necessary to bring in further methods of suppression and restriction. That although, overall, the agreement presents the human experience as a controlled situation, for additional controlling elements and mechanisms to be brought into play, so these require additional agreements, that if are not available already in human consciousness, need be then implanted through the various methods that they can be, via the technology subliminals, marketed one-dimensional presented ideas that have appeal on the surface, but are weighted down with additional controlling ideas that are incorporated where the surface idea is embraced, etc. As I said, further controlling measures required where humanity begin to rattle their chains, and at this time, as the great creational wake-up is incorporating humanity, and as DUANE, the new presentation, and the real guides are featuring with Earth as a physical base of operations, so the dark forces determine the need to tighten the controlling noose, so to speak. For as agreement through human consciousness is a support then for the dark forces' dominance, were this agreement to begin to be released, so would this impact the controller's iron grip on not only the Earth, but the entire simulator. The dark forces then have hatched a plot and agenda where they intend to robotize humanity, a robotization process that will take place as the nanoparticles present in every human body form through the various delivery mechanisms by which they were able to be implanted will at a certain point be activated via the 5-6G electromagnetic technologies and mechanize humanity. Humanity then will be controlled through these robotic forms, a method by which the very idea-creating body mechanics, thought and emotion will be orchestrated by the dark forces through the technology that is interconnected with all now robotized human bodies. What would in fact be a usurping of each individual's ability to free will generate their own ideas, as though now the dark forces have control of every human's personal free will idea creating secondary selves. For as the free will secondary personal selves, through idea creating and agreements, forge the affected experience, with this mechanism now dark force managed, the overall humanity experience can be precisely managed and dictated by the dark forces to be exactly as they would desire it to be, the ultimate means of species control. I have been shown over the years on the real side this potential scenario with slight variations and variables, and if it becomes so or not is agreement dependent, as everything in creation must be. This, however, is just one of the agreements most prevalent in human consciousness, along with other dark force installed alternatives, such as various apocalyptic scenarios involving nuclear causes or other alien invading factors. Every idea that humanity's consciousness comprises of is in effect now in reality, but that which becomes a physical level experience depends on which agreement is maintained as the most prominent, as there is somewhat a delay between cause and effect where additional time and space ideas are applied, as in the case with human consciousness as it effects the simulation of the physical level. And so, what we are shown on the real side tend to be the most prominent of these idea agreements, the ones most likely to roll out as humanity's overall physical level experience, but like all agreements, can and will fluctuate, and so remain always as potentialities. To see the movie's culmination, one must sit through its entirety, although it is already fully present on the disc. And if one were to switch discs before the movie's climax, then another movie will begin to roll out to its conclusion. In this real side experience, then, I would be shown this potentiality again, this agreement jostling for prominence, that if maintained long enough that the movie's end be reached, will be effected as this human robotization scenario. For I would see the vast majority of humanity becoming as though drone-like zombies. I have shared before that there seems to be a certain period of time between the two stages of humans becoming as robots, where the process from human to robot isn't immediate, and during this intermediary phase, humanity become as though mindless zombies, as though switched off and awaiting a direction. For indeed, the ability of the human to free will generate ideas now is denied, and at the point of robotization will the free will be under the control of the dark forces. During this interlude, then, nothing is being generated via humanity's body vehicles, and they become as directionless, aimless drones. However, just as depicted in the movies, and just as it was with this experience, but unlike the movies, where the zombies have the singular compulsion to eat others, in this case, as it was with the previous real-side experiences I have shared regarding this scenario, the drone-like humans have as though a dark force programmed compulsion where they are seeking out and converting any human that for whatever reason had created the circumstances for themselves where they had avoided robotization, perhaps mitigating the nanotech in some way, as alkalinity is said to render them dormant, or even the New song, which DUANE has suggested may be as a preventative measure, etc. Whatever the method and means of the few humans evading this fate, relatively small in number to those in this drone state, the preliminary phase before full robotization, they were being hunted by these zombie humans, and were the zombies able to come into adequate proximity, so through a touch could they transmit the nanos they had in their body forms to the humans as yet unzombified, infecting them, and generally would the targets become as zombies also, the phase before robotization. Some still were immune, perhaps those singing the New song, for those that somehow had up until that moment avoided the delivery mechanisms for the nanos, or those that had prevented the nanos present in their bodies from becoming active through, say, an alkaline body form. Unfortunately, they would receive then a dose of fully activated nanos from an infecting zombie human, and swift would the nanobots be to replicate, and the hapless human become as a zombie also. Interestingly, this humanity potential overall experience view would be replicated, but as though presented as if it were a kind of computer game. That yes, everything transpiring in creation is a simulated unreality, but this was as though then along the lines of a training simulation that are very common now in all areas of human society. This I have experienced before on the real side, as though the guides will set up versions of situations, effects we may have to face and deal with, that we are afforded practice, that should such come to pass on the physical, we are better equipped to deal with. As I said, it was a simulated training then for myself and other Earth-based beings on their respective awareness processes who also were present and participating, that we become practiced in the art of survival should such be necessary amidst the zombie nanobot infecting apocalypse as revealed in the experience I have shared. In another scene, and one that featured on a different night of real side experiences, so it was revealed as to another element to the agreement potentiality that should the dark forces successfully maintain their control of the humans through whichever means this is so, be it depopulation, alien invasion, or robotization, so would the dark force reptilians additionally have certain areas of the Earth as a concentration camps for the surviving humans. The reptilians would assume a visible, overt presence on the Earth, a little like as revealed in the experience I shared involving the renegade female reptilian and her sought-after and gifted child, that the reptilians would be deployed to scour the Earth and secure all human survivors. In this brief scene would these concentration-style camps be revealed as the fate for the rounded-up survivors, those who hadn't been destroyed in the dark force-instigated cataclysms or had evaded robotization. For in this dark force-preferred potential human overall experience would then the more beneficial possibility the alien armada and its arrival to Earth not have become so, but even as then the armada would have decided differently due to the dastardly situations transpiring with the planet, seems that certain portions of the overall fleet, the various ships and aliens involved, had been compromised, isolated, and captured by the dark forces. My impressions were that as agreements in overall human consciousness effected these more dire circumstances, the alien armada that was inbound had veered off, but not before some of the ships and species in its fleet were intercepted by the reptilians, and the aliens aboard the ships that were captured were transported also to the Earth and placed in the concentration camps along with the humans. For I would be afforded the view now of these various captured aliens as they intermingled with the human survivors within these camps. Seems that among the assorted aliens captured, the main species were of the appearance of greys, but of a greater stature than is typical. And indeed, certain greys are this way, and referred to as the tall greys. These tall greys would be the most socially inclined towards the humans, and communicate telepathically with them, the other aliens preferring seclusion or to remain within the company of others of their own kind. One particular tall grey, however, had a mannerism and proclivity to want to tease the humans, for he would be able to read the humans as though a consciousness scanning them and determine that which irritates or annoys them, and do that very thing. One human, as an example, wasn't very comfortable with a physical contact of any kind, and the grey would proceed to poke him teasingly with his finger. This seemed to be the way this particular grey was choosing to pass the time, not overly malicious or aggressive, but certainly irritating for all those he focused his attentions on. But anyway, as I said, we are only ever shown potential physical level experiences, be they those of individuals or entire species, all that are in effect now, and will only remain as real side-effected situations unless the agreement that is effecting them is maintained and becomes then physical level manifested. As things stand overall, the two general agreements to effected human experience are that of the alien armada with its beneficial impact, and that of the dark forces schemes of depopulation and control through induced global cataclysms, or, as in this case and shared view, robotization. And so we shall see which becomes so, and what other variables or agreements are thrown into the mix. And so, sing the new you song. It is your connection to the true reality, the all is, that the real you, your real awareness, is a part of. New